Hey, so happy Tuesday, everybody. Let's talk
And
about it.
let's talk about it. Yes, yes.
How are you doing, Anita? It's been a while. Glad to be here. Glad
Oh,
to see you.
no, it's so good to see you and be seen. Oh my God, good to be back.
I know. We've had a little hiatus. I hope everybody out here watching has been doing amazing. We are just a week from Thanksgiving. I'm like, where did the time go? I cannot believe that it is Thanksgiving next Thursday.
Girl, and me and my mom trying to figure out, okay, so you ain't driving, so now I got to get a car to come get you all the way to Mississippi and get you back up here. Yeah, let's figure that out now in the next few days.
It's true. It's true. I'm like, I feel like I just blinked my eyes and we're almost at the end of the year. But, it's been
Girl,
amazing. So many great things have been
yes.
going on. I mean, your year anniversary of You Make a Difference TV, what has this
Yes.
year been like for you?
It has been an adventure, but it has been an awesome ride. It's been amazing. You know, God has been doing some amazing things and doing some amazing things in me so that I can produce in the earth what He needs me to do. So, being able to have You Make a Difference TV and all the support that you and all the family at Zonda TV Network has given, I couldn't have asked for a better, situation or a better experience than to be with you all. So I thank you.
Well, I thank you. I mean, it has really been so many great opportunities with the events that we've had, the people that we've met, all the different things that we have been doing, and even this platform. Let's talk about it. I'm really excited to have this platform where we can spotlight business owners that are doing amazing things. I
Yes.
have learned so much from our guests, and it has really helped me to keep that spirit of growing and learning.
We never learn enough, right? It's a way of life. So it's
Mhm.
never complete. If you think you know it all, then you have clearly done the opposite.
So
you
true.
know.
Absolutely. So, what is new? What's going to be next for you for 2025? You've had your year of You Make a Difference TV, and tell everybody a little bit about, what's your goal for your channel and what it is that you want to accomplish in 2025, and introduce yourself. We just get to talking.
All right.
Now, yeah, we just expect everybody to know who we are, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Well, Madam Host of this space, go ahead.
All right. Well, I am Lachelle, also known as America's Supermom, mother of 15 children. And Anita and I are just talking about our journey where we are both TV producers on Zondra TV Network. So we're under the Micro Network, Keep It Real TV. And her show is 1 year old. You Make a Difference TV.
Oh,
So I'm excited for 2025. We've done so many great things. So over to you, Anita.
so I am Anita Newson, also known as Anita and the Biz Coach. And as Lachelle was saying, you know, never would I have thought that I would be a TV producer. Okay, if you would have said that a couple of years ago, even probably it'd have been like, who, me? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's in the cards. you know, but God had He said different, right? And this year has been amazing, like I was saying. And so some of the goals that he's actually started me on, we actually kind of met through an anthology
Hmm.
project, right?
Hmm.
That's how we kind of met. So in that, I told a little bit about my story. And
Mhm.
so I was thinking, okay, the next thing when it comes to my writing, because this has been a passion and a desire and dream of mine since I was a little girl to be an author and and to write. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to build on what I already started, right? I'm just going to build on that, finish telling my story, and go from there. That is still going to happen. However, God had took me on a different route. And I mean, you all almost had like a Paul experience driving
Mm,
Mississippi to Georgia. God had me, I was telling Lachelle, God had me physically reading a book while I was driving 5.5 hours. And when I started to read it, I couldn't stop. I was like, oh my God, this sounds like right where I am right now. So I just kept reading and kept reading. I was like, he was talking to me through that book. And
mm,
he put me on a total different journey when it comes to my writing. And that is one of the goals that I have, is to finish my first single solo book, I guess you can say. So with that, yes, Lord Jesus, is yes. So with that, I really have a passion to bring other authors together. I've been wanting, to do that, or even help other people become authors, because there's so many people out
mm.
there that want to be able to tell their story, but they don't really know how to start or where to start. So that's one of the desires. Also, one of the goals I have is to help people tell their stories. I mean, really helping them go through the writing process. And so, bringing them to life on TV would be an awesome opportunity for them as well. And then to also continue with, highlighting different organizations, individuals,
Mhm.
businesses that are actually making a difference in the world around them. So those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to, and I'm excited to see what all God has in store.
I love that, and a great segue to our guests because, when we're thinking about detours or things that kind of happen on our journey that kind of put us somewhere where we hadn't even expected, I'm excited to bring Eileen into the conversation. I actually met her during a networking organization, V Team is where I remember meeting her. And, we stayed in contact. I think I'm no longer with V Team, but it's just the thing that when you meet people, no one else is going to nurture those relationships for us. It takes us doing it. So we connected on a call, and I'm excited to have her with us this evening. So we're
Yes,
going to
yes.
bring her into the conversation. Hey,
Yes.
Eileen.
Hi, so sweet.
Sure. I'm excited to be with you all.
Well, please tell
Yes.
everybody who you are. And, we're talking about detours and things that kind of take us on a different path. So feel free to share a little bit about your journey.
Okay, I am thrilled to do that. My name is Ilene Meckley, and I live in Florida. And I would say I've had many detours, Lachelle and Anita, many.
Yeah.
I was married 29 years, have 5 children, and
Mhm.
unfortunately had to be in a position to get a divorce.
Mm,
I was speaking and training across the country. I have been a motivational speaker and helping businesses for years. And during that process, after the divorce, actually, unfortunately, after a speaking engagement in Tennessee, I was hit by an 18-wheeler truck. So when people say they feel like they've been hit by a truck, I can literally say I know what that means. Um,
wow.
and I spent 5.5 months in a hospital, 1 month in the trauma center, was airlifted in a little airplane from Tennessee to get closer to where my parents were at the time, in Washington, D.C., and spent 4.5 months in a rehab hospital and had to learn to walk again and really just readjust my goals, I would say, at that point of my life. Then I was very blessed and grateful to meet my current husband, who I've been together now with him for 19 years. And then, unfortunately, we had a couple other things that happened. I lost my father 4 years ago, who I'm certainly a daddy's girl and will always be a daddy's girl. I lost him to cancer. And then, unfortunately, I had one of the biggest losses I feel anyone could have a couple years ago, where we lost one of our sons. So
Mm,
we have gone through many different things, and I like to tell people that what I've really learned to do is something someone said to me. So I'm going to tell everyone here, in case they've gone through a situation like this, that I continually learn to live not without my son, but I learned to live with the memories and love that he left behind. And I work really hard at that every day. And I can find joy in things. You know, I always tell people you don't ever totally, it's not like my dad who was 87 and had a wonderful life, you know, and it was a little different feeling this time. But I'm blessed. I'm grateful. We cruise a lot. We meet a lot of nice people. And so I keep going. I keep going.
Love that. And so we're really here, talking about that journey for you, helping other families that have lost children,
Mhm.
and the journey that it's kind of taken you on, you know, as we're dealing with the grief, which a lot of us have encountered. Um, how did you transition from just making it through to feeling that drive and desire to help other people with that?
Well, it's interesting to say that, Michelle, and ask me that. You know, for 10 days, probably the only time in my life, except with the accident, you know, when I was in the hospital, but for 10 days after Sammy died, I did absolutely nothing. I've never done that. And certainly with 15 kids, you know that. You don't rarely get to sit and do nothing. And I had
Sure.
5. And so for years, I had never experienced that. I had worked also too. And so for 10 days, I did absolutely nothing. And then on the ninth day, um, I said to myself, okay, I have to do something. I really have to do something. And I remembered what my dad told me before he passed away. We were blessed and grateful that my parents asked us to come there, and we moved in to help my mom with my dad so that he could stay at home. And
Hmm.
every night before he died, we were with him for 6 weeks. He would say things to me and talk to me. It was wonderful. And he always would say, I want you to remember one of my favorite quotes. Okay. I want you to remember this when I'm gone. And his favorite quote is by St. Francis of Assisi. Start by doing what's necessary, then what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible. So when you say
Mm.
that, Lachelle, on that ninth day, I said to myself, I'm giving myself one more day. And then I've got to start doing what's necessary and what's possible. And I will get through doing what I think is impossible. And so on the 11th day, I sat in front of my computer. I felt, wow, I've arrived. I've done something. I literally just sat in front of my computer in my home office here. Um, the 12th day, I decided, okay, it's time to reach out to all the wonderful people who had been there for me and reaching out to me and writing to me. So I would spend maybe an hour for a couple days doing that. And then just gradually, I would say to myself, okay, I'm never going to learn to, live without him because I want him around, but I will learn to live with the love and the memories and the pictures and the beautiful things. And so that, Lachelle, is something that I do. And we cruise a lot. I'm an
Mhm.
addict. I'm a cruise addict. I'll let you know that.
I
That's
love
a good
that.
addiction to have, okay?
Yes.
Well,
Yes, it
I've never
is.
been on a
We
cruise.
get off a cruise and I'm not
Oh,
happy
you
because
got to.
I have to have 3 or 4 more booked. Like we just got off one on Sunday. We're leaving on the 8th of December, and then we've got 2 back to back. So we come back right before the
Oh,
holidays. So, but what I've
yes.
learned from cruising too is I'll sit and I'll talk to people all the time. And Anita, before I don't think you don't know me, so I'm going to tell you a little story about ducks for a minute and to our
Mhm.
audience. Um, if before you cruise, you may not know how important a little rubber duck can be. But when you start cruising and you're a real cruiser, you suddenly realize rubber ducks are part of cruising. And the story is that years ago, someone took their family on a cruise and decided to hide rubber ducks as an activity around the ship. Well, it caught on and people just hide lots of rubber ducks. So we got into it, and maybe the first cruise I bought 50 ducks, and I saw the smiles and the joy people when they found them. And then I would just say to a crew member, "You've been so helpful. Thank you so much. Do you like ducks?" They go, "Yes, we love ducks." So then I thought, okay, I'll give the crew a duck. So now Bob's in the other room, so he doesn't have an exact count now. I haven't told him an exact count, but we've been known to pack. He wonders why we have an extra suitcase. 300 or 400 ducks on a cruise, I will bring. And so, and I have, you'll notice duck earrings, duck necklace.
Oh,
Bob helps me because I use my fingers very well. And he'll make the little duck necklaces. And these
oh,
are some ducks that people gave me. Look at these. Aren't they
Ah,
pretty?
wow.
They're
yeah.
decorated. They're all kinds of ducks. I mean,
Oh my God.
but the whole reason I'm talking about the ducks is because of the ducks, people will sometimes sit down and they'll talk to you, especially if you hand them one and just say, I'll just say, are you a duck hunter on the cruise? And they'll say, yes. And I'll say, well, I've got one right here. And I
Mm,
actually have to use a walker, Lachelle and Anita. And I'm going to admit
mm,
this to you all in the audience. I was not happy finding out I had to go back to using a walker, but I fell 3 times in a period of like 4 weeks. And I thought it's time to go back and use the walker. But now my walker has full of ducks. I have a little
Of
basket.
course. Of course it is.
Oh, now it brings me joy having my ducks right by my side.
I
But
love that.
I have to tell you, to go back to your question, Michelle, about how did I get through it and my goal to help people. When that duck is like a universal love language, I think, even if people don't
Mhm,
speak the same language, they still know what a duck is. But the people that I'm talking to, they just seem to open up. And I've learned a lot of people who have had tragedy in their life.
mhm,
Terrible things happen when they were growing up, and people just seem to open up. And so, my thought is, I'm not a psychologist by any means. Okay, I'm not able to go back and help them with what did happen. But what I like to do is to encourage people to think about what does make them happy, what brings them joy. I see a rainbow, Lachelle, and I feel my dad is hugging me. Every time I see a rainbow, it's like, oh my gosh, my dad's giving me a hug. Um,
mm,
a heart represents Sammy to me, and so when I see something that's in the shape of a heart, I just feel again that's him always in my heart. And so I think my advice would be to people who go through things that are sometimes things you think you'll never get through is to
mhm,
remember that still there are things that can make you feel good. No matter how sad I was in the very beginning, my husband had remembered that there were things I would tell other people that would bring them joy. And so, one of the things I've always said is, and you certainly know about this with 15 kids, is
mhm.
when you hear a baby giggle, I don't care how sad
Yeah,
you are, how upset you are, there's nothing like a cute little baby giggle, is there, to
it's
make you
true.
feel a little better? So,
Yeah.
I think that in the darkest of days, there are still things that can give you light. And of
Mm,
course, faith. Faith is so important to me. And, when you have a strong faith, I think that that gets you to that point. It helps you get where you need to be to accept that there's joy still there for you.
mm. I love that, and it just brings to mind, like you were sharing, like these chapters of life, where you had like a new beginning, So, what advice would you give to people? We kind of experienced this a little bit with COVID. We had to reinvent ourselves, whether it was through our jobs or, family dynamics and things of that nature. But, you know, how do you let go of a chapter and start a new one? Because sometimes there's that residual thinking about it,
Yes.
or you know what I'm saying?
I do. And I think I always love to tell people that we are the writers of our own story. We are
Mm,
the stars of our own show. And sometimes I think what happens is a person takes on, instead of the star or the writer of the script of how they want their life to be, they take on almost the understudy. Or
mm,
instead of writing a happily ever after, they end up developing a nightmare and terror type story. And so, again, I think that you have to make that decision. You know, I'm not able to have Sammy with me every day, alive in person, but I'm going to show you. There's Sammy and there's my dad, and they're on my phone.
Mm.
And so every time I open on my phone, I feel them with me. You know,
Mm.
I think that that's really key, is to allow yourself to feel. So if you got through COVID and maybe your business suffered, maybe it wasn't a loss of a child or a spouse or a parent, but maybe you had a business loss. Maybe you had to move from your house that you love the neighborhood. I think you start to think about, what's my next chapter going to be and how do I want to create it? And it's interesting, you know, I feel like I've written some books and they were business books before my accident. But after my accident, I wrote a book called Highway of Success. And on my website, there are the 3 books that you can download. It's me reading them. There's no cost. People can just go right to them and download it and hear me talking to them. And Highway of Success was basically therapy for me, Lachelle and Anita. I wrote it. It's all analogies about being in a car. Okay. So I had to really get through that. It's during that time when I was writing it that I had some PTSD. And I thought, I do not want to think of it that way. So I came up with my own acronym for PTSD, which is perfect time, stay determined. Perfect time, stay determined. So when I'm in a car and I get that feeling, you know, bad weather or something, and traffic and craziness going on, Bob will hear me say, okay, perfect time, stay determined, perfect time, stay determined, perfect time, stay determined. And then he'll turn on some kind of music, or he'll start to talk to me about our next cruise or something. Because I think you end up thinking about what can help push me through the challenge that I'm in. And the other thing too, you know, Anita and Lachelle, I've really focused on through challenges is never stopping being grateful. You know, if I think about what I'm grateful for, it helps me push me through the other side. I also have learned, and this was something my auntie taught me, who also unfortunately lost a child, to accept when I'm having a time where it's hard to not be sad. Just accept that it's okay and know that there's something that will come along any minute or in an hour or something to bring a little joy back. You know what I mean? And I think that's hard too, is to accept we didn't like what happened during COVID. We didn't like maybe losing income. We didn't like the fact we couldn't be with family. We've accepted it and now take advantage and be grateful for what we can do now.
I love that. You know,
That is amazing.
I love the
That is amazing.
acronyms, okay? Because I'm an acronym
Look,
person.
I was over here I'm over here taking notes. I was like, PTSD. Oh my God, I love that. I'm over here putting notes on my phone. That's why I keep looking down. I'm like taking notes and stuff, right? I am loving these nuggets she is dropping. It is so amazing. I'm gonna have to turn my volume back up. I had a call, you all. I'm sorry. But one of the things I was thinking about, Irene, is that I wanted to ask you about. I know when I lost my niece and my sister like 6 months apart in 2021, I think. You know, people sometimes, you know, they don't know how to support you, right? They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They may even avoid being around you, right? Because they don't know how to, you know, they just, you know, it's just really sensitive for everybody. You know, so I mean, what is some advice that you would, you know, give someone?
I'm so glad you asked me that. Michelle and I talked about that one day I'm going to write about this. So who knows? You might stimulate this in me now. Well, I'll tell you a couple of things that I've heard that I would recommend someone never says. Okay. Sometimes I will talk about that I have 5 children, and it's still even hard for me today because, you know, do I have 4 and 1 in heaven? You know, it's hard. How do you say it? But what I did hear, Anita, is sometimes people say to me, well, at least you have other children. No,
Right.
That's not what you want to hear.
Oh
Okay,
no.
not what you want to hear at all. So, um, but I think what is uncomfortable for someone else could be comfortable for the person who's had that loss. So I love when someone says to me, "So tell me about your day today." That's a really great way to say it. They'll say, "Tell me about your day today." And if I say, "Oh, today was a good day," and then I was reading some essays because we started a scholarship fund for our son, Sammy.
Mm.
And so I picked this winner. So if I say, "Oh, I was reading some scholarships and it got pretty emotional for me." Well, tell me, how are you feeling about it now? Is there anything that, we can do to help you through that? Or is this something you have to work through today yourself? Giving people options and choices. But I think if you really start to say, tell me about your day today, as people are going through the process. And, grieving is a process. It's also like the waves. I was talking to someone and I said to her, "Did someone teach you to say this to me, to say this to people who've lost a child?" And she said, "No, why?" I said, "Because it's great. We need to remember and teach this to people." But she said, "I hope it's not one of those waves that knocks you completely down. And it's a wave that
Mm.
just gets you a little bit off balance today. Is there anything I can do to help you be sure you stay, balanced?" And it was like, "Yeah, talk to me to let me, it was a great experience that way." So um,
Mhm.
I think we just need to realize that when there is a loss, that really saying something to me would not have made it worse than losing him, but it
Mm.
won't make me feel better at all. Nothing's going to help the person from
Mhm.
losing him. Even though we have faith, even though we believe in heaven and peace, we still miss the loved one we had. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not gonna stop us from missing them, even though we know that other things are happening.
That's
Yeah,
so true.
I agree totally. One of the things, because my mother, my dad passed away. It's been 9 years now, and I think sometimes when you're trying to adjust, some people want to avoid the topic, but for me, I just feel like, the person, it's a transition to let go,
Hmm.
because they're not physically here anymore, but
Right.
they're still there. So it's like when you avoid the situation, or, I love when people ask, well, what were they like?
Hmm.
What happened? I mean, I love that engagement, because you're acknowledging where someone's at and how they're feeling, rather than just, oh my gosh, I don't want to upset them. So,
Right.
Right.
oh, the weather outside is nice. After you tell somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
like, did you hear anything I said? Okay, or we just having a superficial conversation?
Yes. And I
Right.
think talking about them is it's holding on to what you can have, which is
Yeah,
memories. So,
yeah,
we all know what happens if we don't talk about things, at least as we age, right? We sort of
it's
forget.
true.
Not that we will ever forget our children, but I'm
It's
just
true.
saying the memories of the times and the things that happened. Like, for example, some of his friends reached out to me, and Sammy was wonderful in plays. Oh my gosh, she was in Greece and he was really good in plays, and they would reach out and they would talk about, they remembered the time when his pants split on stage. I was like feeling so bad for him. He was doing flips. And so now I can smile and laugh about it. But
Yeah,
because they brought that up to me and they were comfortable bringing me a lot smile and joy and laughter, I can talk about it now with
yeah.
not feeling sad, but thinking, "Oh, wow, that was an amazing experience," sitting there as a mother thinking, "What do you do now?" But the show must go on. He kept going on. He kept going on. But
Oh
so
wow.
so memories are important. And so giving a chance for someone to talk about the memories is
Mm-hmm.
really good for someone. Now, not in the very beginning, it could be really
Right.
hard. But again, if you talk to them and ask questions, so I think, Anita, I would say, is to ask more questions. You know, I think that, when you're getting ready for the funeral, I mean, it's so hard. And, you know, you're going through pictures and, you know, people offer to help you. You know, he has brothers and sisters that were doing that. And of course his father. And, you know, we were all doing that. And you can't help but by going through the pictures, having some warm feelings as well. And so I think talking about that when people have pictures or something, or if someone tells a story about what happened, to be able to go back and say, you know, when I heard that story about how he split his pants or whatever it is that happened, I just could imagine, how did you feel in that audience sitting there, bringing up something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So listening to what people say about the person can be
Mm-hmm.
very helpful in being able to bring some joy and memories about the person.
Love that.
Um,
That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
I know you were saying it was, and I definitely can understand that. You know, you had grieved your father, you know, when he passed, but it was different. You know, it
Yes.
was a different type of grief with your
Yeah.
son. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. In fact, you know, I'll talk about something that used to happen to me a lot. I had my own business for many years. I had a huge sales team. And I always thought, and I bet, Lachelle, you even had this happen, that people would think, oh, well, I was different because I had 5 kids. Or at the time, I had a very, very supportive husband. I do now, but he didn't raise all 5 kids of mine. So they would always say it's different. Then when I went through a divorce, they didn't know what to say because now I was that single mom of the kids. You know what I mean? So they had to look at it and think, oh, wow, there is a big difference. Then when I had the accident, my career stopped. I was divorced at the time. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was, I mean, 5.5 months in a hospital and learning to walk. And, you know, then, okay, well, I'd gone through that. And then I thought, okay, well, at least I haven't gone through the loss of anybody, a grandparent, but they were in their 90s. Okay, so that was different. Then, when I lost my dad, who was really a rock for me, my mom is, of course, too. She's 90, and we just saw her, so she's doing well. But when I lost my dad, I mentioned I was a daddy's girl, and I was so blessed that he prepared me. I mean, every time he would hang up from a friend, he would say, remember, see you on the other side, see you on the other side. He would just say that over and over to anyone, anytime he would speak to someone. I mean, it was like just every time. And we would talk about all the different things that we had gone through and the experiences he had. So for him, again, I miss him. You know, I still talk to him myself. I have conversations with him. I feel like he's always a part of me. So it was different when I lost Sammy, and he had COVID and sepsis. It was more of a, wait a minute, he's too young. You know, he had his life ahead of him. And so it was a different type of feeling, you know, a very different type of feeling. And so I would say that the most important thing that you can do again is have a strong faith. I'm not sure how people get through things without it. Okay, whatever your faith is, you have a strong faith, you don't let go of it. And then you just have to accept that you're not happy about what happened, but there are still things that can bring joy to you.
Love
That's
it.
amazing.
That's just awesome. I mean, you know, grief, it is something that, you know, we can't escape it, you know? I mean, even it just, you know, we can talk about loved ones, we could talk about, you know, grieving our history. You know I'm 53 now, so it's like my life moving forward is looking a lot different than my younger years. You know, when I go through these pictures and think, man, I was 20 something when I had this child, and, you know, now being a grandparent and just all these things, you know, it is a little bit of sadness and grief from, you know, the
Yes.
transitioning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
Um,
I think, Lachelle, you just said something that I want to sort of be sure people really understand. It is transitioning. It
Mhm.
is transitioning. And I think it is learning to, think like when we have tacos or when we have pizza, that was Sammy's favorite food. Okay.
Mhm.
So instead of being sad that that was his favorite food, I'm thinking, oh, I can remember him wanting to have tacos and pizza every night. If he had had his way when he was growing up, that's all we would have ever eaten is tacos and pizza. And so it gets to that point where, you are able to smile and feel better as
Mhm.
you transition. Like I said, you don't learn to live without them as much as learn to live with the love and memories they left behind. That's the real key to it. And I think, and I think sometimes too, my aunt and I talk about this a lot because I mentioned she lost a son too. And um, it changes you. It does change you. It doesn't have to change you in a negative way. I mean, I hope I never get cold or anything like that, but it can change you. It can, I can be sitting on an ocean balcony talking to my husband about things. And then suddenly my mind will drift off a little bit, and I think, oh, wow, he's not going to be here for the holidays again. You know what I mean? It's like it comes back to you. And then you
Mhm.
think, okay, well, let's think about some of those that we enjoyed, then you move back to the memories. So I really think for me, because of me being what I would call so into wanting to be in control and setting goals, I always said you can be a goal setter or goal getter. And I wanted to be a goal getter. So I would be, really breaking things down and all that. You cannot do that with grief. You're not
Mhm.
able to say, okay, I'm going to be over this by 3 months from now. No, that doesn't happen.
Mhm.
And so accepting that it doesn't happen,
Mhm. I
accepting there are triggers, accepting you're okay, accepting that sometimes I can cry in the morning and like now I'm talking about it and not crying, but
right.
a few hours later I could just accepting that it's okay.
What comes to mind for me is surrendering. I went through a period where my dad was in hospice, and
Mm,
um I just knew that I would never be content with, okay, it's going to be tomorrow. Because it's like, okay, can I have another 5 minutes? Can I have
yes.
another hour? I mean, you're never going to be like, okay, today's today. I'm ready. You just have to surrender, to whatever
Oh,
God says. So I love what you said about that. But, the thing that really is so touching and inspirational is that you are on this journey to try to help other people.
yeah.
I mean, that is the thing that how do you um I don't know what's in your routine or your thought process to be able to think about others and be strong enough, to
Mhm.
kind of carry the load when you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah. Well, it's interesting you asked that question because just a few weeks before we lost Sammy, we lost a family friend. She was not even 40
Mm,
to cancer. And so when I told Sammy, we did not know Sammy was sick at that time. It was a few weeks before he got really sick. I told all 5 children. Sammy said to me, do you remember? She and I are about the same age. We always hung out together because it was a family friend who they grew up together. Do you know what I mean? Just grew up
mhm,
together.
mhm,
And so when Sammy passed away and died, and we went through all these pictures, my oldest daughter said, Mom, you're not going to believe this. I found so many pictures of Sammy standing next to Mandy. They're
wow.
standing next to each other now. And so it was like almost okay. And so I did reach out to Peg, and Peg and I talked, and um, Mandy left a couple young girls, Sammy did not have any children, but it was almost like we were talking, and I thought, okay, she's a few weeks ahead of me. Okay.
Mhm,
Um, and I thought, she's able to talk, she's able to function, she's, so maybe I will be able to do those things too sometime. So to me, I feel so grateful and blessed that it's part of almost me giving back to being able to get through it, to help someone else be able to get through it. And, I was talking to you earlier about the fact that when I'm cruising, I meet so many people because of these rubber ducks. And, they'll come and they'll talk to me and end up telling me their life story or things that are happening. And so I mentioned to someone that they asked me how many children I have, and I still have trouble answering it sometimes. And, I'll say, well, I have 5. One of them's in heaven. And she said, oh, my sister just lost their child like a year ago. And it's so, so hard, And I said, well, let me share some things that could be helpful to you. So it just sort of happens naturally. So, right now I always like to extend myself and tell people that if they know someone who wants to talk to me, I would be more than happy to talk to them. It's not like for fee or payment or anything like that. I don't do it for that reason, but just to help someone see it. Now, there's sometimes I'm finding, that I do make recommendations, ladies, that they do get some professional help. If they're finding after, a while, they're not able to get back to any type of what I'm calling normalcy, whether it's eating your meals, whether it's getting back to going to your church or synagogue or whatever it is, doing things with the other children or your spouse, then sometimes you do need some help, I think, getting through it. So I don't hesitate to suggest to people who don't have that feeling that they can get back to some normal life, they need some extra help. And there's always some help that they can get to move them along a little bit.
I love that. Now, so talk to us about your Washington Post experience.
Oh, this is a funny story. Oh my goodness. And on the ship, people were like, are you the Washington Post duck lady? So when I think I don't know about my kids and grandkids, they may be embarrassed me being known as the duck and bag lady because I have my bag ducks on my walker and all that. Well, about a month ago, Bob and I were in the middle of a cruise, and I said, this person just wrote to me and said they're a journalist and they want to talk to me about ducks. He goes, well, do you think they're real? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to look her up. So I Googled her name from Facebook Messenger. She messaged me. I'm like, she's a travel writer for the Washington Post. She's real. Hannah said, she's real. And he said, well, message her. So I messaged her back and said, I'd love to talk to her. She said, can we talk today? I said, I'm on a cruise. If you want to Zoom, that's fine. So we Zoomed, and of course, on my bed are these hundreds of different ducks I'm tagging and our jewelry that we're giving away. And so it's in the Washington Post. I forgot what I have it somewhere, the article, but it was in the travel section. And it's interesting because most people love the rubber ducks, but apparently some companies, Disney has decided not to let rubber ducks be on their ship. And she was asking me, why would they do that? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe because there's so many kids, they're afraid the kids won't be able to find ducks. I don't know what it is. But then there's other companies, cruise companies, that just really embrace it, and the crew embraces it. And so they did a whole article, and I had told them that one day we were in the restaurant area for lunch. It was like a buffet. And so I had given a few crew members ducks because I always say, you know what, you are so great. Thank you for taking, they're just right on it. Anybody who cruises knows the crew is just right, clearing your plates, doing everything to serve. Well, all of a sudden they were telling everyone who worked in this area that I had ducks. So I created, ladies, a word find for ducks and cruising for kids to do and all kinds of things. So anyway, they're all coming over, and then the head of that restaurant, whatever he is, not the captain, but one of the senior officers, comes over and goes, ma'am, you are disrupting my crew. I'm so sorry. And he said, but they have never been happier. This is great.
Aww.
And they were their word finds, and they were having so much fun. So the ducks really are a symbol of joy to me. And so what I've decided, I have a couple Facebook groups. Cruising Ducks on Land and Sea is one of my Facebook groups. The Cruising Duck Detectives is one of my Facebook groups. There's other cruising duck groups, but I'm just going to carry it out too, not just at the sea, on the sea, and we've tried it a couple times where we were at a hotel and the front desk lady was just looking so sad, and I handed her a duck and I just said, we just got off a cruise and I'm so used to doing this. May I hand you this? She said, oh my God, this is so great. I'm going to put this where nobody can get it. I'm going to look at it. I feel so lucky. Thank you. So it's just another way of focusing on, I think, giving a little joy and making someone's day feel special. And Anita and Michelle, if we're talking about grieving or we're talking about transitions, it doesn't have to be loss of a person. It could be, like I said, losing a job or a business not doing well or having to move because of a spouse's career, whatever, a change, a transition, we'll call it, like Michelle said. I love that transition. When you focus on doing something and someone else smiles, you can't help it. You're just happy. And so to me, I feel like of all my kids, Sammy would probably be going, go mom, give another person a duck, because he would probably be into it. So I really think that the ducks have been really a tool for me to stay focused on the joy. Now, ladies, don't laugh, but you see this one that it's decorated, and all these have little jewels. Well,
that is so nice.
I rushed home from Michael's to be with you all tonight because I decided my ducks need some jewels. So you won't believe how many jewels I came home with from Michael's. But when I'm not working with other people, I'm going to be decorating ducks. I just know
that's awesome.
So yeah. So, but I really appreciate you all with this show. I think, each one of you, Anita, I don't know enough about you. I need to learn more about you too. But Lachelle, from watching you and observing you when we were together in the networking and hearing you speak a couple times, and I heard you speak at the meetings and do presentations, and then we've talked. I think each person in life has things that they feel have made them a different person for the good, even when they're challenging and difficult. It helps you learn. It helps you grow. You make a difference. When I was in that hospital for 5.5 months, there was a time they thought they might have to amputate my right foot. And my parents were with me at the time. My kids would fly in and out of the hospital, in and out of the state where I was. But my parents literally moved from Maryland to Tennessee for 30 days while I was in the trauma center because I was divorced and they felt my kids had kids and careers and they were retired. They were the ones that should come. And I can remember my parents saying to me things like, well, how are you feeling about that you might lose your foot? And I remember them looking so sad and thinking, I'm going to make them feel better. So I said, well, I guess I'll just have to dance on one foot or learn how to dance because I'm never giving up my dancing because I love listening to a good band and I love dancing. You know what I mean? And so I have to tell you, there's never a time, no matter how much pain I'm in, that when we're on a cruise and we hear a band that we don't get up and dance because I made that promise to God. Let me keep my foot. I promise I will get up and dance and be happy. And on 2 cruises ago, I danced more in a night than I have probably in the years from my accident. And so we told the band this. I told the band, I've never heard such a great band. I've never danced so much. And we told them the story. They asked what room we were in. And I said, why do they want our room number? That's so weird. But our cabin number. The next day, they sent us cookies with a card that said, thank you for being so inspiring. So, yeah. And so people came up to me because I'm used the walker and I'm dancing, and they would say, "Oh, I wish I could do what you're doing. I can't really dance." And this, and I'd say, "You can. You just have to make the decision you really want to and choose to, um, because you can." And I have to hold on to my husband. I never let go because I was tall, but we do. And then there was a Halloween. We were on a cruise with a Halloween, and I couldn't believe this. Now, Lachelle, I don't know if you know this enough about me, but I used to be shy. I wouldn't talk to people I didn't know. I would have never been a speaker like I was doing all these years now. Um, well, there was a Halloween costume contest, and I jokingly had said to Bob, "I'm going to order us duck costumes." He goes, "Well, okay, that's fine." I said, "But we're not entering any contests, okay? We're not entering, and I don't even know if I'll wear them." Well, we got to be real friendly with the crew because of all the ducks. And so Victoria said to me, "When are you going to wear that duck costume?" I said, "I don't know." She goes, "You've got to wear it." So we put on our costumes. We go out to the dining room table. There are other people in costumes, thank goodness. Victoria comes over and she goes, "You will enter the contest, won't you?" I'm like, "I don't think so." She goes, "Yes, enter the contest." So there's all these thousands of people. Hundreds are in costume. It's time for the contest. And Victoria's like, she's one of the crew people on the recreation staff. So we go over, and then the cruise director says, "Okay, it's time to determine the winner." And he said, "And these are the people who have been giving you all ducks all week." So, of course, he built us up, and we won the costume contest.
Wow.
Over ducks. But anyway, it's interesting how for me that was sort of a real step out of my comfort zone. But then again, afterwards, the next day, I cannot tell you how many people came up to us and said, "Oh, we cheered for you. You were so nice. You were so great. We cheered for you. We watched you dance this week. We did this. We did that." And so my thought is sometimes we have to do things that are uncomfortable, knowing that if we could help one other person because we've done something, that gets you through it too.
Love that. That was awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we have really enjoyed having you on. I mean, this has been amazing.
Well,
Amazing.
thank you for having me.
Yes. So many it's just a real conversation. So many people, as we're getting close to the holidays, for some people it's not going to look the same because we
Yeah.
don't have some of our loved ones. But this has been a very inspirational conversation, wouldn't you
Yes.
say, Anita?
I'm
No,
gonna show
I was agreeing.
I'm gonna show you one more thing. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. I think my dad.
Come on.
It's my dad's shirt and suspenders.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
And someone made this for me. So I sit with him behind me all day long
Oh.
in my
Oh
office
my goodness,
behind my
adorable.
back.
I mean, that
So
is just
sweet.
wonderful. Now that's a nice gift idea for
Yeah.
somebody. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
And they made one for my mother and my brother
Oh,
and the other kids. It was
that's
grandkids.
so nice.
Yeah.
Well, what final thoughts do you want to share with the audience today as we wrap up?
I would say choose to write your life story. Even though there can be things that are happening, there can still be a happy ending. There can still be things that make you laugh. There can still be things that put that smile on your face and bring you joy. And the other thing I would say is don't feel bad about saying to someone, "Today I'm having a tough day." I think that that's hard for people. It was hard for me, people like me who don't want to feel that way. But I think it's important for you to say sometimes, "I'm having a tough day." Or use the analogy with the waves that, there's some waves coming here today, and I just don't want them to knock me down. And because you don't want to stay down. If you stay down
Yeah.
in a wave, you're not going to make it. So the wave can knock you down, but you need sometimes help getting up.
Mm, that's beautiful. This has been wonderful. Anita, what final thoughts do you have for everybody?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's been so good.
Oh,
It's been so good. I was going to ask her another question, but I know we are
Oh,
wrapping
go
up.
ahead. Go ahead.
Just, I know, I'm a real stickler on, self care.
Mhm.
I worked with foster parents, and different industry of people, and a lot of times we don't do that, especially when we take care of others so much, right? With our families or those that we're taking care of. So maybe what is one self care tip that you would give someone that has been through the experience you've been through?
I would say it's hard to say one, but I would say that I took time to read and meditate. I really took time to read and think. I also like essential oils. I've used some essential oils, so I keep them with me. Um, and the other thing I think is, self care is different for each person. But I think that it's important when you go through a challenge or a tragedy or a loss, whatever we want to call these things that are happening to us, you identify something that will make you feel you're caring for yourself.
Mhm.
That's good.
Mhm.
Right, because it looks different for everybody.
That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, for me, I wouldn't have even thought about listening to music, upbeat music during that first 30 days. I'm sure it would have never even fazed me to do that. But
Mhm.
now I know that if I'm feeling something, I'll turn on a really upbeat song or something and just get up and move a little bit to the music or chair dance a lot or something, um, because that makes me feel good. So, I think
Mhm.
at different periods of the process, there'll
Mhm.
probably be different things that you need. The one thing that was hard for me is sleep. I couldn't sleep very well in the beginning.
Mhm.
So I knew that I had to accept, I've never been a nap taker. But I had for 10 days, don't forget, I didn't leave my recliner. So I did sleep off and on during the day, probably, from crying and being sad and all those things. But I think you just go through the grief stages, and self care could look different at different points, but you do have to care for yourself.
Mhm. I love
That's
that.
it. Yes. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. So it's been amazing talking to you tonight. When Lachelle was telling me, well, we got a guest, I was like, oh, cool. I didn't get a chance to do any looking you up or anything, but I didn't need to. I feel like we've known each other forever now. So
That's good. I like
I'm
that.
looking at growing the relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and it sounds like you like cruising. Call me.
I know.
I, I, I have to
I
share with
do.
you.
I love
I'm
traveling.
so what's the word? Embarrassed to admit this. We just recently decided to actually add cruising as an advisor as part of what we offer in our services, because my company is called REACH, which stands for Relationships, Engaging, and Activities that Are Caring and Helping. So I am now an official travel advisor. But that was in August of this year. So we've been on 93 cruises in 15 years. And it
That
wasn't
is
until my 37th that I decided to do this when I grew up.
Wait a minute. That's got to be one of those records. What they call
again.
it?
I know you
World.
might be in the Guinness Book or something coming up.
No,
Yeah.
no, we meet people who have cruised a lot more than us. But I think what's interesting too, ladies, is they're always surprised because I'll say we still work. We are still
Mhm.
working, and I ride on the cruises, and of course I'm meeting people on cruises and networking all the time. I mean, we meet people all the time, but it has become a fun lifestyle.
That's awesome. Well,
It is.
I'm really inspired. I have really enjoyed the conversation, and we'd love to have you come back. I mean,
I
it's
would
just
love
amazing.
to.
Yeah, it's amazing the things that you've accomplished, and we want to thank the people who have joined us this evening. We've had Nina and Travis. At least they were the ones who wrote some comments, and we just appreciate everybody tuning in. And we have Eileen's website that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So feel free to reach out to her. And especially if you need a duck, maybe you need a little pick me up.
I will
reach out to
send
her.
them one in the mail. They can do that. I will send it in the mail. They can reach out to me
Absolutely.
and they will get a duck.
That's the perfect thing for this holiday season. I don't know what you are putting out there because you might have hundreds of people
Hey,
wanting a
Hey,
duck.
I
Okay.
have over 1,000 ducks. Don't worry about it.
That is
oh my
awesome.
God. Yeah,
Well,
that's
we want to
amazing.
thank everybody and we want to wish you guys a happy
Yes.
Thanksgiving. Because
Yes.
next week is Thanksgiving and we
Uh,
appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. So, um, thank y'all for watching, and we will see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you
Bye,
for having
everybody.
me.
bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.